So you're doing all the visualization, the meditating, stating all the affirmations, but nothing's happening. Let's talk about what's really going on. My name is Peter Abundant, aka Dr. Abundant, PhD and ordained minister of metaphysical sciences. I am also the author of The Enlightened Shadow and Spiritual, Not Religious, both available on Amazon and Audible. Now, I know from firsthand experience that manifestation can be very frustrating. Now, here's the thing. It's frustrating because I've learned that I'm making it more complicated than it has to be. That I am actually thinking myself into a concept of believing that manifestation is difficult. And this is one of the infinite loops that many of us go through when it comes to spirituality and manifestation, is that we think it's hard. And really what makes it hard is the fact that we have to face and challenge our own belief systems. The irony is these belief systems were given to us. They weren't belief systems we actively chose while we were a child and growing up, but these belief systems were programmed within us with all great intentions by our parents and loved ones and family and culture. But we've come to a point where we realize that these belief systems actually are pulling us away from our true nature. They're taking us and making it more difficult to, in fact, materialize the desire that you have, your purpose, ultimately recognize your true self. And so I'm calling out to you, somebody who is frustrated, somebody who is really not understanding why it's so damn hard to actually materialize and manifest the thing that you want. Now, you're doing all the right steps. Okay. And this isn't to say that you should not do and continue to do those things. Okay. So why aren't you then seeing the results? Well, it's a matter of alignment. It's about acknowledging that it's not because you're broken. It's not because you're doing it wrong. It's really because there's one thing missing. That is your identity. Recognizing that this all comes down to identity. What is your identity? What are you identifying as? And when it comes to that thing that you desire, what are you identifying that to be in relationship to you? Are you identifying yourself to be somebody who often struggles, who even if you win, you still have to go through a struggle? Are you identifying that thing that you desire to be a somewhat of an obstacle course to get through, a challenge to get through, a challenge to receive, to actually get and keep, Because for many of us, it may not be the issue of getting it. It may be the issue of keeping it. So you have to understand that your belief systems around who you are may be the thing that's actually making what you desire difficult. And when you recognize that your identity as the portal by which you materialize certain things, you understand that, wait a minute, if I identify as somebody who always beats challenges, who always overcomes struggle, who always wins on the other side of, complexity and drama and toxicity and negativity, though you are winning at the end, you are still identifying with the struggle, you see? And that's probably why you haven't materialized the thing that you want now. So yes, it's great to recognize yourself as a survivor, but it's not so great to identify yourself as a survivor, because that means that everything that you go through, especially the things that you value and desire, those things are going to be a fight, right? Tooth and nail. It's going to be a struggle. The thing is, you don't have to experience that anymore. You can let that go. As soon as you recognize that, okay, that was necessary at the time, and there's some stripes you get to have, right? Some badges of honor for walking through the flame, getting over those challenges, still pushing forward to materialize and create whatever you want, to make and will whatever you want happen. But now there's another level of recognizing that that's not necessary anymore. You are given the ability to ascend not only beyond the struggles, the complications, the complexities, the challenges, the trials, but you can ascend beyond even your identity to get over those things, to face and beat those challenges, right? So why deal with challenges if you don't have to? Okay. Why is it that some people can just simply decide that they want something and miraculously, it seems, they get it and they get it quite fast? I am somebody who identifies with being a workhorse. I am somebody who can say, well, you know what? This person may be luckier, they may be smarter, they may be more skilled, but I will outwork them. Even as an African American male, we've been taught that we have to work twice as hard as our white counterparts. Now, the issue is, and the complexity of it is that you have to balance the spiritual with the physical, right? So you have to ask yourself, how much of this do you want to keep and how much of it do you want to change? And then you have to recognize that this is your own individual choice as to how you identify and how you wish to change that identity. So, do I have to be a workhorse? Do I have to outwork everybody else? Maybe not. Do I enjoy it? I actually do. I actually do enjoy putting in the work. I actually do enjoy moving and continuing and always creating, right? Doing, being, sharing. I actually love that. So it's not a struggle for me, so to speak, of, writing a blog post every day, creating a video every day, right? It's not a struggle for me to write a book, once a month, once every few months, because it's something that I'm extremely passionate about and I actually love doing. I actually feel fulfilled doing it, not so much looking for the result or a particular result of why I did it in the first place, you see. So that's something you have to identify as well when it comes to manifestation of what it is that you desire. Do you actually enjoy the process of materialization? Do you actually enjoy the process of bringing everything together and being and doing as you are stepping forward on your path toward creating that? If not, then you can change the conversation and your identity around what you have to do in order to create that result, because it may just simply be about the result for you, and that's fine as well. So recognize that if you're about and you love the process, the journey at the core of who you are, then great. Enjoy that, right? That is more fulfilling to you than possibly getting the result. If you are somebody who is so focused on the result and that's all you really want, then you can create an identity of doing minimal things, but still understanding you have to do something, right? Because we're physical, right? We're in this physical body. We're living in a physical plane. So there's some things you have to do. You have a mind, right? Your mind is made for, strategy and planning things out and analyzing. So you have to use that mind. Use that mind, figure out a plan, a strategy, use your physical body to actually do some things. And then based on the identity of doing minimal to create massive or maximal results, if that's the identity you are creating for yourself, very well. But you have to understand that whatever identity you choose, it has to truly resonate with you. You have to essentially believe it. Okay? Live it. All right? You have to believe it. So when you actually believe it, then it becomes something that is not forced, something that is real, right? And something that you feel is equally in alignment with who you are. So manifestation is not about effort, it's simply about alignment. And once you recognize that you have to align all aspects of who you are with that which you desire and with whom you know yourself to truly be at the core, then manifestation happens very effortlessly. You know, you don't have to attract what you want. You just simply attract what you are. And so you simply being somebody who writes books, who makes pottery, who simply likes to read books, or you want to, make an income from reading a book, or somebody who likes to travel, or somebody who likes to just spend time and communicate and commune with other people. Whatever that is for you, recognize that must be who you are in order to attract that experience. You see? So it starts with you. You are the core. I always say you are the beginning and the end of that desire, of that reality. Nothing outside of you, because there really is nothing outside of you. Everything is a part of you, but nothing outside of you in terms of your body and your mind is actually going to do it for you. So you have to recognize that it is your identity that actually sets the tone and aligns with the desire and how it's created. You see? You want to keep things, instead of keeping it in the future, you want to keep it in the present moment, in the now. Yes, we all have goals, and those goals mean that in this physical world, they are projected, right? There's a projection of time that we have to go through, a linear experience of, from getting from point A to point B. But the way you actually get through and get to the finish line of a marathon is simply focusing on each step as you are taking it one step at a time. And so when you focus on simply the step and putting everything you got into that step and being present, being mindful, then each step you take is eventually a moment where you have a positive experience, a moment where you are absolutely feeling at ease, you're feeling relaxed, you're feeling calm. Because if you're taking a step, but you're focused on the 10,000 steps later on, then it's going to pull you away and take you to a place of something that's not natural for us, right? Which is not being in the present moment. It's fine to plan. It's fine to think ahead. But in order to create that thing that you wish to create in the future, you must, and I mean must, focus on what you are creating in the present moment. That's how it happens. The future is a result of the present moment, right? Your present moment is a result of your past. But it all comes down to the present moment, okay? Now, the reason why you're not materializing the things that you want is really because of inner resistance, okay? It really comes down to these inner, unconscious beliefs, fear, doubt, a sense of feeling unworthy. Those are identities that you have to let go of. Those are identities that you have to break free from. You have to recognize that they are not your belief systems. They were given to you by somebody else who had an opinion about you, and you felt like that opinion was valid and important, but it isn't. You felt like maybe a parent or somebody that you looked up to gave you some advice based on their limited view and twisted skew of the world and their reality, and projected that on you as if you were as you are supposed to take that reality on. That's false. Okay. You create your own reality. You are the creator of your own universe. So once you take ownership of that, then you start to break free from all those external, focuses, elements, So checking for results instead of staying in the moment, in your desire and who you know yourself to be, is very important. When we think about those unconscious belief systems and those fears and doubts, they're usually connected with the past. But if you're in the present moment and you look at yourself from a very transparent, vulnerable, but empowering space, you recognize that those things aren't you. All right. So when you recognize and think about that which you desire from a moment, this moment, then you have the ability to stay in the feeling of you having that thing, because in that instant in your mind, you have it. That is real. Okay. It just hasn't materialized yet. don't think because your thoughts are not tangible in the physical hand that they aren't real. Your thoughts, your imagination is more real than anything physical. Okay. The physical world is slow. The physical world is a low vibrational reality. And so it takes time and it follows whatever's going on in the spiritual world, because the spiritual world is basically the primary reality that we exist in. All right. So not being emotionally congruent with the end result is very important. You have to be here and in the now. You have to be focused in on the experience that you're having at this moment. Don't look for, you know, a quick fix, in terms of thinking that you're going to expedite something, like you're going to cheat your way through it. The quick fix is really about embodying the end result, you know? So it's not really you trying to fool yourself. It's really you trying to, or understanding that the spiritual realm and you existing in that reality and that plane of thought is the dominant factor, or the thing that is going to solidify and anchor the materialization in this physical world. Everything in this physical world that we experience, that we do, we touch, we feel, is a result of the spiritual world. Somebody's imagination, somebody thought of it, right? Somebody created it first in their mind and then put it to work as to how they can gather materials and practice the laws of the universe and put it together into that thing. Whether it be your phone, your car, your pair of pants, pair of socks, whatever it is the result of somebody's thinking, somebody's thought process. The thought, the inspiration is of the spiritual realm, Now, there's one thing I want to share with you as a final thought here when it comes to manifestation. It has been profound as far as shifting how I think about creating that what I desire, particularly when it comes to money. And that is, when you think about money, you have to ask yourself, what is the initial thought? What is the feeling that comes up for you when, you're thinking about money? Is it scarcity? Is it lack? Are you slightly stressed? Are you feeling a little bit anxious about money? Sometimes you may be not having any money, so you feel anxious. Sometimes when you get money, you feel a little anxious because you're feeling like, I need to hold on to this money because there's been times where I didn't have money. Sometimes I experience that now, where I will get, and attract and create lots of money. And then I get a little bit anxious, a little bit of like, all right, let me be responsible. Let me be calm. Let me be chill. And let me just relax and just like hold on to this money as long as I can. Now, because I'm thinking that, right? Because you may be thinking that or have thought that, guess what? The money ends up going, right? And money should flow. Money should be exchanged. It shouldn't be hoarded. It shouldn't be kept. It shouldn't be, locked in a vault, so to speak. But you have to recognize that the way we identify ourselves with money and money itself has a lot to do with how we receive money, right? How we attract money, how we spend money. And one great example that I found was the example of comparing money to air, to oxygen. Now, we never go outside concerned that we're not going to breathe oxygen, that we're not going to get enough oxygen. Okay. Even even in terms of water, you're living in America, you're living in any kind of, Western country, first world, second world, some third world countries, the foundation of life is water. You see, you have to have water. And depending on where you are, the access to water is one that is undeniable, unquestionable. There is no sense of lack. There's no sense of concern. Right, that you can easily walk outside, even when you wake up in the morning, even while you're sleeping, you're breathing. You're never concerned about not having enough oxygen. Something a little bit more like infrequent is water. You're thirsty. You're never really concerned if you're going to get enough water. Okay. Now, these things are very important in terms of your relationship to money. How do you feel about money? Do you feel like money is as abundant as oxygen, is as available as water? Probably don't. So, this is the thing. In order for you to shift your identity with money or with anything that you've been wanting to create, all right, desiring to materialize, the reason why you're taking so long to materialize that thing is because you're identifying that thing as something that is scarce, something that you lack the ability to connect with. You don't lack the ability to connect with oxygen. You don't lack the ability to connect with water, with food even, right? With the ability to communicate with other people. So you must identify money or whatever it is that you desire to be as abundant as oxygen, as abundant as water. When you recognize that, and me thinking about it in terms of, wait a minute, money is really an energy. Money is really something that is about value. Okay. And then some people, they may not even identify it as that. Some people can create and attract money simply by thinking about it, simply from their mere existence. You can be one of those people if you decide to identify as such. But I love giving value. I love supporting people, helping people, and teaching and sharing knowledge with people. And so that is my natural way of the exchange of value for value. I give my knowledge, and in support or in exchange, money is the communication, the form of communication. Money is the thing, right, that I acquire. And so, because that's how I identify myself as a spiritual teacher. I identify myself as an author. And so authors make money from their books. Now, for you, you have to recognize how you identify with money in a way that connects you to the infinite abundance of air, of water, right? And when you recognize that, it will shift. Trust me when I say, because for me, it shifted everything. Money isn't so scarce. It isn't something that is intense. It isn't something that creates a lot of anxiety or worry for me, And ever since I started even just thinking about and playing with this idea, then is when I get these random deposits of money to my accounts. And I'm like, okay, great. And I don't even get excited about it. Just like you don't get excited about air, right? It's just there. So when you get money, don't get excited about it, because excitement demonstrates your surprise, right? Because if you're surprised, that means you don't get it often. But when you get it often, you're not surprised, right? When you get it often, you're not feeling a sense of, excitement or, just feeling crazy about it. You just simply, yes, appreciate it, take it with gratitude. When I go running, trust me, I appreciate oxygen. I appreciate my lungs and being able to breathe and, really acknowledge all the things that's going on in my body from a place of gratitude, because that's when you really get into the appreciation of it, So even with money, when you're spending it, be grateful, right? Be happy that you're spending it. Still, don't be, excited that you have money. No, but be grateful that you're spending it and that you can exchange your money for somebody's value, you see? So it's important to recognize that it all comes down to your identity. When you identify with struggle, with lack, then that is what you're going to create. Even if it means you always win on the other side, even if it means you always come through on the other side as a winner, getting what you want, do you really want to struggle, right? Is that something that's really important to you? Maybe it is. That's not for me to say. That is for you to say. But ultimately, you want to recognize that you can change your identity. You are not your identity, okay? You are the observer of the identity. You are the awareness of your identity. You see, with meditation, you will begin to understand what that means more and more. With meditation, what you are doing is you are simply observing your thoughts. You're observing your feelings, your emotions. And then you're able to recognize that, hey, I am not these thoughts and these emotions. Because how are you able to observe those thoughts and emotions if you are the thoughts and emotions? It is because you are something else. That is consciousness. That is awareness. Okay. So ultimately, when you start to recognize that you get to decide what your identity is, then you get to recognize that you are now able to create the identity that aligns with your desire. At that point, you just work on embodying that identity, thinking in terms of, okay, this identity, this persona, what do they do in alignment with that desire? Okay. If you want to be healthier, what does that identity of a healthy person, that is you, what do they do? Then you want to take bit by bit that wisdom, that knowledge, that insight, and apply it into your life now. You see, if you want to make $1 million from a business, what does, from what you know right now, a person, that persona, that identity, what does that person do, right, in order to create that $1 million, to create that successful business? So you have to go into a space of, yes, your imagination, but also recognizing that it is your identity that connects you with the materialization of the thing. You see? So what I want you to do, I ask you to do, is in the comment section below, write down what's one desire you're claiming as already done right now. Because when it comes to materialization, when it comes to identity, you're identifying with having that thing already, right? Even though physically in this reality, you may not physically have it. It may not be tangible in your hands. But remember, because it is in your mind, it is the most real thing you can have. It just takes time in this physical world for it to materialize. Just like it takes time for a baby to grow, right? Just like it takes time for a seed to turn into a tree. You have to recognize that the seed is in your mind. Your emotions, your feelings, your thoughts are the soil, the sunlight, the water. And it just simply takes time in this physical world for it to materialize into its physical form. So you essentially are going to recognize you already have it, and you are going to identify with the person that does whatever they need to do to actually materialize that thing. And there you have it, right? So write down again in the comments, what's one desire you're claiming as already done right now? Thank you so much. Feel free to go to drabundant.com, subscribe to my daily newsletter, get access to this free ebook, and so much more. Continue to join me on this journey. Peace and abundance always.